is pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
To return some videotapes. 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 Videotapes.
Welcome once again to the Ectoviolence channel with Strange Glow Video, our ongoing podcast, which just had its 5th year anniversary, but just switched to this channel if you are just joining us. If you know our faces, hello. You at least know mine if you're a watcher of this channel regularly. And this is my brother, and we've been doing a channel for 5 years, and this channel kind of sort of came out of that as well, so here we are. And today we're talking the new Final Destination Bloodlines, a little bit late, but my brother here was on a little camping trip with his family, playing Clark Griswold.
Yeah, it was a mix between the great outdoors and vacation. Chaotic at times, but it was good stuff. So we were going to try and do this live last Monday from the road, but the campground I was at had 0 cell service. So I didn't know that until I got there.
Yeah.
So you just never know with those things.
Yep.
You never know. But yeah, happy to be here talking about Final Destination Bloodlines. And I did get a chance to watch Final Destination 5. So if you tuned into our last live stream that we did, you probably heard me talk about, I didn't see 5. I watched 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then I think you'd watched 1, 2, 3, and 5.
Yeah.
You didn't watch 4.
4 was my least liked, so I was just like, I'm skipping it.
Yeah, no, I feel that. Yeah, 5 had some stuff I liked in there. It was pretty entertaining, but we'll talk about that kind of after we get through Bloodlines. So,
yeah.
So welcome to anyone who's joining in live. Appreciate you tuning in, spending your evening with us. And if you got any questions throughout this thing, just drop them in the chat, and we'll try to get to them real time. If not, we'll do a section for Q&A at the end here.
So, yeah. We've been talking about Final Destination for a little while, so I don't think we have to go too much into the background of this, but I was pretty stoked for this movie. You, I don't think, are as big of a fan of this franchise as me, but...
No, I mean, I enjoy it. It's a good horror movie. It's a good change of pace. And I guess I say that because the deaths are crazy, but there's not like a main baddie that's chasing anybody down to be scared of, right? So it gives a little bit of a liberty to explore the ambiguity of death.
Yeah.
Death itself, death as a character without having to show death as a character. So I do appreciate that about it. This one, I was pleasantly surprised. The trailers, I thought, did a pretty good job of not completely fucking the movie over as far as spoilers go.
Yeah.
That first trailer we saw, like, you assume that guy's going to die in the tattoo parlor, and you're like, fuck. And then he lives. So I thought that was a really good throw off there, because I was like, oh, great, here he goes. Like, as soon as we got to that scene.
Right.
And then he lives, and I was like, fuck, man, that's awesome. And then we find out he was adopted, or he was an affair baby.
Dude,
I thought that was real fucking clever.
That was definitely the most endearing character of the movie.
Yes, he was. He was like the most relatable, the most caring. Truly loved his brother.
Right. He was an asshole exterior, but not interior.
Yes.
That perfect blend.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, the intro scene was awesome. I really liked that. And the Bloodlines concept, I was like, are they going to go like multiple families here or anything like that? You know, I just didn't know how that would go.
Well, they did, but they like didn't show it all necessarily, you know. They kind of explained that in that one scene, but let's talk about that Premonition scene first. Let's get there. So the fact that we're in the past is pretty interesting, and I was already like, because I'm so trained to, I was expecting some of the stuff leading up to her going into the building. Like, I expected her to not obviously, normal Final Destination movies, we see the premonition and then we see them save people. That didn't happen in this movie. We saw her save people later, and we didn't see all of it. We saw how it went down, and it completely changed how it went down. The disaster didn't happen because she intervened instead of happening differently, which is what happens in the other movies. But so there's like things happening. Like we hear Johnny Cash's "The Ring of Fire." We hear that Creedence Clearwater Revival song before they even get to the building.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like taking note of this, like, okay, this is going to be a thing that she's going to be triggered by, right?
Yes.
Well, that was more or less just sort of irrelevant and maybe just teasing us, maybe just a way to change things up. And so I appreciated that, but at the same time was like, They at least had some bangers in music choices, which is what this franchise is known for. In particular, we'll get there, but that Air Supply song.
Yeah.
Nobody ever talks shit on Air Supply again, man. Ghostbusters fans can suck it.
Exactly.
Air Supply rules. I can wait forever, bitch, for Air Supply.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm telling you, I was not expecting that intro to play out the way it did. It felt fresh, but it also felt kind of familiar in a way that, like, it felt like Final Destination, so it didn't feel like it was straying too far from the path, and they did some stuff there, like, she's kind of wigging out. She sees that asshole kid with the penny.
Yeah, that's all interesting, too. The penny, I forgot about that.
Yeah, because what was it like when I was growing up? There'd always, like, people talked about, like, oh, if you throw a penny from, like, the roof of a building and it lands in someone's head, it'll kill them. Like, I'm sure you guys said similar shit, right?
Yeah, we heard that.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh, fuck, okay, that's going to be interesting, not realizing that they were going to use it to crack the floor and that kid was being an asshole.
Yeah.
And then we got to see her character, like, have that in her collection in her, basically, her death book.
Yeah.
Which I thought was an intriguing concept. Her character really reminded me of Laurie Strode from the new Halloween movies.
Yeah, I think they were doing that intentionally.
Yeah, and it was strictly lifted up and out of that.
That was some of the worst part of it for me, because this lady apparently figured out that it has to go through all these people before it gets to her. Like, she mapped it out, and then she's still living there being weird and, like, somehow survives. But then when she does eventually decide to die, it just kind of seems a little lackluster. It's like, okay, it's a little graphic and cool, but, like, also, I don't know.
Her death, for someone that has survived so long, it was underutilized.
Yeah.
So I see what Camera Inc. said they did not like the rest of the movie. So I could, I could understand that.
I didn't like this movie as much as other people. I will say that. I liked it about as much as I liked 5. Like, I think it's on par with 5. Although there's characters in this I like more. There's some scenes that I like arguably as much, but 5 does, like, just to jump to it real quick, it has that gymnastics scene. We'll talk a little bit about that later, but, like, that's incredible. And in this one, it's the MRI scene. And the tattoo shop, honestly, is great because it subverts everything.
I like that whole sequence because, like I said, in the trailer, like, you're expecting that death and he survives. I thought that was really cool to do and say, okay, you're not actually blood relation. So that was an interesting concept. But then, when they do kill him off, they're like, well, death works in mysterious ways. And you're like, okay.
Yeah, when you fuck with death, he fucks back or something, they said.
Yeah, essentially. So there's things in this movie I really liked that I thought were really cool concepts, and there's other things in this that just felt fucking dumb. Okay.
For sure.
My number one thing that pissed me off in this movie was, why is this girl having dreams about her grandma?
Yeah, I thought that was dumb too.
Living her life. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, to me, it was like, and then they make her the estranged Laurie Strode character. Like I said, she's estranged from the family. Nobody wants to talk to her because she's weird. And, like, then the mom is kind of a weird character too.
Yeah.
And the mom was fucking annoying. She never gets any good character development besides, like, kind of maybe sort of showing a little bit that she regretted leaving her family.
Yeah.
but not enough for you to give a shit about her. I'm like, she didn't even need to be in the movie. They could have just had her killed off, and like the mom, was surviving.
Do you recognize
The grandma character.
you recognize any actors from this movie?
I'm trying to think. Some of these people looked familiar.
One of them I knew. It's the kid who played, well, the youngest kid. He was also
really?
in the Chucky series as the cousin.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yep.
Pretty sick to be in Chucky and then Final Destination, not gonna lie.
Yeah. Now, my favorite part of this movie was the way they explained the Tony Todd character. I did like the backstory they gave to him.
It was
wasn't
cool.
necessarily necessary, but I didn't think anything of it at the beginning of the movie. But by the end of it, I was really like, oh, okay.
At the beginning of the movie, I was like, "That's Tony Todd," though.
You
Because
were?
I
Okay.
yeah, but that's because I knew that they were gonna explore his backstory a little
Oh,
bit,
okay.
at least a little bit. And I
See,
knew
I'd
that
watched.
I heard that he had like a great send off in the movie, and it's his little speech at the end or whatever.
Yeah, I thought he was fascinating that, he'd been communicating with the grandma back
like-
and forth over time.
Well, that explains why he knows about this pattern of death and stuff, which is fascinating too. Like, I don't think it's a bad, like, some of that, to explain that in other movies could be very bad, and they could have explained it a bad way. I didn't hate the way they explained it with him. Didn't love it necessarily, but
No, I thought it was decent enough, but after just watching 5, because I hadn't seen 5, so like he had an interesting role in 5 because he's kind of shown up a few times in the corner van, so he's not down at the morgue, which is interesting. Obviously there's more than one role at a coroner's office, but I thought that was strange. But I thought they kind of, after seeing 5, I felt like they didn't live him up to his justice by the end of Bloodlines. I mean, they tried to piggyback on like that he's seen these things before, because he specifically said that he's seen situations like these before where people survived
was
and
he
they
a
died one by one.
coroner in 5?
Yeah, he was wearing a coroner's jacket.
Okay, so he starts out as a coroner in 5, because that's technically before Final Destination 1. And then Final Destination 1, he's up to a mortician. And he's probably just up to, like, administrative positions in that sort of field now.
Oh, yeah.
That's the way I would look at that. But, yeah,
Yeah.
he's still working around that. But that might be related to his upbringing, too. You never know the reason he got into that field, but...
Yeah. It's unfortunate because I feel like that character alone could have had a movie or something like based around his stuff, where you just see him like running into fucking people like this, helping them. Like, you don't get the whole movie about the other characters. I think that would be fascinating, but rip. So, but I did like that send off. I thought that was kind of a unique way to show like the past was running through more than just like this family, affected other people as well. So,
yeah. I liked the party scene. There's lots of different things happening, like the rake under the trampoline, the glass in the cup, and then we finally get the lawnmower death, which was actually pretty sick. I saw behind the scenes of how they did that. It's pretty
really?
awesome. Yeah, they just had a shelled out lawnmower, and then it spat out fake blood out of the thing when they put it over the dude's head, and he shook around.
Oh, that's awesome.
It looked really good, too, just that before they did any digital altering, and I was like, okay, it's nice to see that there was a lot of on-practical set stuff still. It's enhanced for sure, but...
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really what good filmmaking requires, the enhancement of some of that stuff, right? And I think that's kind of where I would say the best filmmakers are doing that, are trying to find that middle ground of, okay, how do we do this as practical in camera as possible and then supplement in post.
Yeah.
So there were a few scenes in this that I thought looked pretty shitty, but mainly the one that I thought looked the worst was the fucking trees at the end.
Oh, all that. I hated that scene in general, but we'll get
That
there.
whole thing that whole thing looked like shit. The CGI just didn't look finally rendered or anything. It just looked too done. Looked like a video game to me.
Yeah.
In a bad way.
So let's talk that tattoo scene. which is very interesting because it has that great Air Supply song. It was obviously the first kind of teaser trailer they released.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like finishing up and decides to tattoo Dad on him. And when we watched the trailer, I was like, oh, I know why he's tattooing himself with that. Obviously, his dad just died and whatnot because it's a Final Destination movie. And
Yeah.
that's a very elaborate and cool scene. And then motherfucker survives. And I love how we just see him like drinking a fucking juice box. And he's getting hit by the car.
Yeah, that whole scene in the tattoo shop was pretty good. That was one of my favorites, and the fact that he survived it, right? Because we saw, like I said, the trailer. You know, the trailer showed so much of that scene already, but it was pretty interesting.
Well, we thought that it was obviously just going to lead to a death.
Yeah.
Because they do trailers like that before. You know, they've never really tried to do that with a trailer before and subvert what they're doing. And that's why I like that scene so much more, too. Like, that would be still one of the best deaths in that movie because it's such an elaborate, cool scene, and the setting is awesome and interesting. And it's one of those anxiety-inducing scenes when you watch it throughout all the different things that lead up to it and everything. It's done really well. And there's, for example, then we get the garbage truck death, which keeps playing with you. Oh, she's going to die. She's not going to die. She's going to die. She's not going to die. So it has that going, but I didn't like the effect of the head crush either. It looked bad to me.
Yes, that looked terrible, and
it may have been a practical effect that they then altered, and that
it could have been.
It may
but
have
I
don't know. Yeah,
that whole death to me, after watching Ninja Turtles in the '90s, that's the best. That's the best trash truck kill I've ever seen. Like, it doesn't have to show you a ton of blood. It's subtle. It gets the point across, but it also feels fucking gruesome.
Oops.
Yeah. Like where you see the helmet crush and then a little bit of blood or rust. You can't quite tell what it's supposed to be, but the implication is that the shredder is destroyed. And I'm like, you are not going to top that, in my opinion, based on my nostalgia and my love for that movie. So that scene was basically fucking dumb.
Yeah.
And like you said, they're toying with the back and forth. Who's next? Who's next? So, yeah, there's some really fun stuff in here, and it's a mixed bag. Overall, I had a good time watching it.
So let's talk about the MRI scene then.
Yeah.
Which is the kill of the movie, and it's a double kill.
Yeah.
So they get this idea in their heads to kill him with peanut butter and then bring him back to life because that's what worked in number 2. I do find it interesting that they're like discovering how people tried to get out of this situation before and if it worked and how they're going to make it work. And
yeah.
That is one of the dumber plots, though. That's one of the lore things I didn't like, is if you die and then you're brought back to life somehow that you can avoid it. I don't know. Just dumb, but whatever. But that scene is very hilarious. It shows that he even has his nipples pierced and then his dick pierced, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he gets dragged in there and fucking like torn in half, like brutally, and then his brother's sucked in there and shit too while he's like dying of anaphylactic shock and shit.
Yeah.
It's brutal. And people are really scared of like MRI machines already, so.
Yeah, see, that's where we have a difference of opinion, I guess. I mean, it was funny to see like the gag of all of his piercings. But the MRI scene just didn't fucking do it for me. I thought it was so fucking cheesy.
Really? I thought it was great.
Yeah. Yeah, I just didn't. I mean,
I was bummed out that character ended up actually dying because I was just enjoying spending time with that character. But at the same time, I was like, this is a fucking way to go.
Yeah, it was a way to go. But yeah, to your point, I think maybe that's one of the reasons I didn't like that is the fact that he died. Like, just let that guy live. He's not fucking related to them. Who cares?
Yeah.
And yeah, I just didn't give a fuck. You know, when they killed him off, it was like, okay, you're really going to do that now after, you have him survive all this other shit.
Yeah.
The MRI thing, though, like, I don't know. I'm not scared of MRIs or anything like that either. So that whole thing going on, I'm like, and you start to nitpick, but the reality of it, like, there's a lot of shit in these movies that can actually happen, so they're terrifying because of that reason. But then there's a lot of these deaths that happen that are like super elaborate, and you're like,
They're exaggerated for sure, yeah.
yeah. And so some of it doesn't feel like it would ever happen. Like an MRI machine in a fucking hospital, I don't feel like is going to have the fucking power to do that to somebody. I don't feel like you're going to be able to crank it up that high.
An MRI machine, if I know it can suck like metal tables across the room and slam them against it, but I don't know if it'll suck a piercing actually out of your body. I think he was hit with something, wasn't he, to actually be sucked all the way over there, because it sucked the piercings, it ripped him out of his nipples and like his ears and shit, which was, I think that is obviously exaggerating what an MRI machine would do for small amounts of metal like that, but like they can, they're like crazy powerful magnets, and they can like.
Yeah, I get that, but to me, like the part about those getting ripped out that was hard for me to see is like I've seen all these assholes do like the piercings with hooks and like do this aerial suspension with like piercings. And so like the human body can hold a lot of fucking weight on that. So like that would have to be a fucking insane magnet. Like if you had a metal filling in your teeth, like your tooth should have ripped out of your fucking mouth at that point, is what I feel.
That would have been cool to see too. Yeah, they should have added that in, honestly.
Yeah, they should have. Adding something like that in would have added like a layer of believability to that, you know?
Magneto did that in one of the movies. He sucked someone's filling out with his fucking metal powers, dude. That was awesome.
Yeah, so I don't know. I just didn't necessarily love that scene. Yeah, it was fun to watch him like get squished and sucked into there, but I was just like, whatever.
Yeah. And then what else is there? The mom. And then both of the brother and sister at the end there, which is fine. I like it when they kill people off, but I also like it when they more or less suggest that they're going to die right after the movie ends. I don't need to see them be smashed by really bad CGI logs so you can call back to the most memorable premonition in the movie by having logs come and kill them like, oh, Final Destination 2, we get it. I think that was a little too on the nose. It's the fucking finding the goddamn crunch wrap in the Ecto 1 and the Crunch bar, I guess it's in the locker there, and the Twinkies in the Ecto 1, isn't it? Like
yeah, I didn't need that, hey, remember Final Destination 2 callback? We've all fucking seen that one. That's the one that most people have the fear of because that's probably the most likely scenario. Fuck, when I saw a truck driving down the road, a tree truck, because I was down in the mountains, I told Liz that. I was like, hey, Liz, you ready to Final Destination it? And she didn't think it was funny, but I didn't give a fuck because I'm like, if I'm going to go that way, at least I go a fucking cool way.
No, for sure. Like, if you went out that way,
I'd be like, I really did the Final Destination, which is fucked up because that theater roof that collapsed in Argentina, was that in Argentina, I think I read? Did you hear about that?
Yeah, it didn't actually collapse. Like, a small panel fell, pretty much. I saw pictures, like, of a theater, someone shared it, and then everybody commented on it, and they changed the pictures out to the actual photos, and they were much different. Nobody died, did they?
No, she had a contusion, which is basically a fancy word for bruising on her knee.
Right. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. But I think, honestly, a Final Destination movie that is a 3D movie where the disaster, the premonition, is in a movie theater. And one of the employees, like, works there or something, you know?
Yeah. So let me ask you this then. So after the Dark Knight movie theater incident, do you think that's something they would do, though? Do you think they
not necessarily, but I'm not. Your disaster has to be like a natural one, like a tornado hits the movie theater would be cool. I think, you know what I mean? Because then you'd take away from. It's not something violent like that. I think if you had a tornado hit it, that'd be sick, though. Bring a tornado into Final Destination, and it tears up a part of a movie theater. People getting sucked up into the motherfucker, and you see like cams of people flying out in the sky for miles and shit, and like landing somewhere.
Yeah, that'd be fucking pretty terrifying.
Yeah. Let me write
Especially
this
anyone
thing.
that's, anything that's happened, right? If you've seen any of the Joplin tornado stuff, like hearing about people that like flew through tornadoes and survived and stuff.
Yeah, the guy in the fetal position who's like was royally fucked up. Yeah, I watched that documentary too.
Yeah, that's intense shit, man.
That was a good documentary, though.
Yeah, it felt like this movie had some really cool, fresh shit in it, but then at the same time, it felt like they didn't do enough revisions on it.
Yeah.
or something to like clean it up a little bit. I don't know. Because like we get this very intriguing grandma character that she sees all this and then she's still able to have kids and everything else. I
Yeah.
almost wish that they would have gone the route of like showing more of her story in this before she became just crazy and then, gets killed off.
Well, that's what when she was killed off, I was like, oh, I expected this character to kind of like go, at least through the second act. Shit.
Yeah, and then her daughter basically was the same person she was, which to me was uninspiring. Now the barbecue scene was like a nice elaborate scene, like we kind of already talked about that, but the glass, like that, like yeah, it's probably not going to kill you, but like if you get a piece of glass in your mouth, oh, just the thought of that is just like body horror to the max.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the only scenes in the movie that like made me like kind of wiggle in my seat, like just grossed out, because like you knew how fucking painful that would be. Like the rest of it, you're like, who gives a shit? But that was one of the scenes in there that really grossed me out. Like the lawnmower thing, yeah, I've heard of people doing that. I actually used to work with the guy that got ran over by an industrial lawnmower when he's like mowing for a city. And he fucking survived it, but he had scars all over from like the blades cutting him up. Like,
Fucking
A. So, that's terrifying for some people. But yeah, I didn't.
Well, yeah, there was the glass thing was the biggest squirmish thing, or the nose piercing and kind of it being dragging you up. That kind of makes me squirm a little bit, even though I don't have a nose piercing.
Yeah.
Previous movies, though, the dentist office thing made me squirm. The gymnast thing.
Yeah, the LASIK surgery. Like,
oh yeah,
I'm not like eye stuff doesn't bother me, but my buddy Josh, who I went to visit last week, like he fucking hates eye stuff, so he gets really grossed out by anything that's an eye.
Sick.
So he's one of those guys. Like if you were to like put your finger in your eye and move it around, he would just get so squeamish. He like there's a chance he could puke.
It'd be great. You could Clockwork Orange him, which would fuck him up already. And then show him scenes like that scene from Clockwork Orange and the scene from Ace Ventura.
Exactly. Yeah. No. So I don't know. When I think so that was number 6.
Yep.
So
I think I gave it on my regular review a 3.5 out of 5 hearts, which would equate to about a 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
Or I might have given it a 3. I don't know. At this point, I might give it more like a 6.5. It's okay. I like it, but don't love it.
I'm glad we waited though, because like I like this a lot more when I left the theater, just because some of it felt pretty fresh to me. But like sitting back and thinking about it now and having just watched 5, there's definitely some weakness in this movie that kind of throws it off a bit.
So let's briefly chat about 5 then.
Yeah.
The bridge is pretty interesting. The fact that I've said time and time again, this is The Office, because they work at a paper company. And plus Packard from The Office is in there, who's, what's his face, David Koechner.
Yep. Kansas City.
Yeah. And, I don't know. This one's pretty fun and interesting. It's way better than 4. It's on par with Bloodlines, I think, for me, in terms of how much I like it.
Yeah, the rewatchability, I think, is right on pace with Bloodlines. Maybe a little bit higher than Bloodlines.
I think the ending is stronger, because I do like the ending of, like, the movie's climaxing with one of the people trying to kill the other fucking people from the incident.
Yeah.
2 of the people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very much almost like in the Scream genre vibes there, where they're trying to steal their time. That
And
concept.
Did you know that this was a prequel when you went into it?
We talked about that, but honestly, when I watched it, I completely forgot about that. So that worked out for me. It made it that much more enjoyable.
Well, it's cool because the only real tells of what time this movie takes place are the cell phones. And they're kind of hidden by people's hands enough. They're using flip phones, but this movie was like, what, 2009, 10, 11?
5 was in 2011, yeah.
So it's like nobody really is using flip phones. There might have been a couple weird ones still left out there, but like it was just unnoticeable enough because flip phones were still recent enough in memory that it didn't seem out of place in 2011. I think that prequel thing worked because you weren't expecting it. I wasn't until I watched that movie the first time. I was like, oh, I'm not like, oh, mind blown, awesome, but I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, sure. But the only thing that doesn't make sense is that they didn't get off the plane too. Because they saw him freaking out, they should have been like, oh, fuck, we're getting off.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah, that is kind of the missing component to that to make it make more sense, but...
Or even if they tried to get off, but then the people were like, you can't get off. That would be okay too, because it's like, oh, you're sentenced to doom.
Mm-hmm.
And they are like not fully sure that they're gonna die, so they just accept it and sit down, as opposed to like they're like, haha, that guy thinks we're all gonna die. How silly. After they just went through all that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Just to think, something to think about.
Yeah. No, that I get it.
But also, they're just movies, so I don't, whatever.
Yeah, no, it's fun. Yeah, the fact that Nathan dies from the debris crushing him on the flight was kind of interesting too, because you're like, oh, okay, what's happening to that guy? And then you get that scene, and you're like, oh shit, and you find out the other guy was going to die from that aneurysm. I was like, all right, I can get it.
That was cool too. I liked that. I forgot about that. What would you rank these movies? There's only 6 of them. Couldn't be that hard.
Let's see. It's always difficult with 1 because 1's the classic, the original. 2 does some things better. I have to lead with 1 just because it's the concept movie that sets everything up. So 1, 2...
Buckle my shoe.
3, 4, lock the door. 5, 6, get a crucifix. 7, 8, stay up late. 9, 10, never sleep again.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so 1, 2...
Buckle my shoe.
Yeah, 3... And then I would say 5, 6, 4.
It's not too far from mine. If I'm going just favorites, I'm going 3, 1, 2, 5, 6, 4.
Yeah. Well, I feel like the bridge one was good. And there was some shit on that like, obviously if you remember the I-35 bridge that fell in Minnesota up in the Minneapolis area, and I don't even remember when that was. Somewhere in the early 2000s, I want to say. And like killed all those people, and then that fucking ship that hit that bridge took that bridge out was that last year or the year before? Out on the East Coast.
The one that just happened?
Yeah. Was that? I thought that was almost a year ago already.
I don't know. There was one that just happened like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, there was another one? Okay.
Where like a Mexican naval ship hit like the Brooklyn Bridge in New York City.
Oh,
and it killed a bunch of people on the ship.
Yeah, but there was one that it was a big shipping vessel that hit the bridge and killed a bunch of people because they all like fell, and then yeah. So like that's very feasible. So that's terrifying. I feel like that concept is very scary, just as much as say a plane crash or a roller coaster, or any of those things. Like there's some good shit out there.
Yeah.
I always like it when the premise is based in some shit that's kind of happened already or very could easily happen, like just at a worse scale than what actually happened.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got a feeling, I think this movie did pretty well, and I think the general consensus, most people liked it.
I think it did really well financially too, so we are probably getting another one, I would say.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's like we're going to get another one of these, and
I'm not complaining. They can do at least another one. If it's at least as good as this one, I'll be happy. Doesn't have to be better. I'm not going to say, my expectations are that. As long as it's this good, I'll have a good time with it. It's not going to ruin any of my childhood or anything. I don't give a fuck.
No, if you're making it on par with, say, 5 and 6, they're going to be entertaining. So I'd be okay with that. Just like clean up the writing a little bit, though. You know. And by that I mean just kind of streamline it. Don't be afraid to edit shit down and make it shorter to make a better film, more streamlined, or make it longer if you need to tell that story. It's like I said, there's some fascinating shit in Bloodlines, but there's also some stuff in there that was really like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Come on now.
Yeah.
That said, no regrets going there and seeing it in theaters. You know, it's worth it for sure.
For sure. Yeah, I think that's about it to say with Final Destination. Other than, I will say I talk about a few of my favorite deaths from these movies. The first one's probably going to be Billy, I think is his name. He's Sean William Scott when he gets his head taken off by the train. It's kind of like obvious, you see it coming, but I think that's the funnest like individual death from that movie for me.
Absolutely.
The second movie,
That's the one that's like the horror death. You know, I think each of these movies tries to have like a horror comedy death in a way that doesn't take itself too seriously, so that lightens the tension up even for a scary movie. So I think that works. That's a
Yeah.
good one though in the first one. I like that.
the second one is probably that apartment fire one, where the guy ends up getting smashed by the ladder. To be honest, it's just like very anxiety inducing, and I think it's one of the best examples of that in the movie. The death itself is maybe not the best, but it's the lead up in that whole scene.
Well, that really pioneered the whole thing in this franchise, like where you really build this anxiety. And I mean, the bathroom scene in the first one did that, right? But this really took it to the next level and set the bar for like, if you can't handle at least this level of just getting fucked with and getting trolled while you're waiting for this person to die, like you're not in these movies for the right reasons.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good one.
Third one's the tanning beds for sure. That's pretty fun to see. That's always fun, and it's traumatizing for other people. I don't use a tanning bed, never would, but
Yeah. Yeah. No, I was gonna say you'll never catch me in a tanning bed, but for anyone that has used it, I'm sure that's fucking terrifying.
4, I can't even remember. It's been so long now since I've seen it.
4, I basically blocked out of my head. What was 4?
The
What was it?
NASCAR one.
Oh yeah.
I feel like there might be
thought-
one or two
I
okay
thought
deaths
there's-
in it, but
Yeah, I thought there was one in there that I enjoyed, but it's not sticking in my head right now.
3 also has the weights kill, which is really good.
Mm-hmm.
The weightlifting
Yeah.
one. And then 5 obviously has the gymnastics.
That was fucking intense. Like that fucking bone ripping through the skin and everything, like seeing that, like going that blood sport route of like just breaking bones and like just fucking brutally painful and gory. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's a fucked up scene.
Mm-hmm. And as he's cheering her on the whole time, you can do it, you can do it. Yeah.
And then 5 for me is the MRI, but or 6, I guess.
The MRI, yeah. I'm trying to think which one I liked the most in that. Because some of the deaths weren't like insanely gory. And I feel like you got to have the balance of like how quick can you do it, you know, because there's always the quick deaths, you know, like that somebody walks out, gets hit by the bus, that type of a thing.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate those quick ones where they're just like, after all the trolling they do back and forth, someone has a quick death. Those are always kind of refreshing in these movies.
Yeah.
I feel like they're very important to help set the pacing right, to like kind of make sure you're paying attention. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I need to see Bloodlines again to really pick out my favorite death in that one. But the thing that stuck with me the most was that glass, just because like the thought of glass in your mouth, shredding it up, and that's just a personal thing. Like the body horror is like the only thing in horror that really even remotely bothers me anymore.
Just like swallowing glass, bro.
Yeah, swallowing glass, shredding yourself up. Yeah, all that stuff is just, yeah, terrifying. Cutting your whole mouth up. Like if you've cut the roof of your mouth on cereal before, like imagine how nasty a very sharp piece of glass is going to be in there. No thanks.
Yeah, it's like in,
Yep.
God damn it, the worst part of watching Chucky, the series, is seeing the kid bite into the apple with the razor in it.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, that I'm telling you, man, that it's that body horror. It's the only thing that gets you anymore.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even like I'm not scared of it. I'm just like squeamish about it because like you know how painful and uncomfortable that's gonna be.
Well, right. It's the body, like the mental reaction to it. So, like, if
Mhm.
somebody just chops somebody's hand off, I'm like, oh, that sucks. But like, if somebody like slowly peels the skin off someone's finger, that fucks with me way more.
Yeah, exactly. Like a quick action, okay, that's fine. Yeah, but with that little slow torture, like putting the finger or putting pins under someone's fingernails and things like that, yeah, that's the kind of stuff you're just like, I hate you right now.
Yeah. Gnarly.
Yeah, no, this is a fun franchise, man. I think it's going to keep going, obviously, as well as it did at the box office. This is one of those things I'm surprised they haven't tried to do a TV series about.
Yeah.
Um, and I only say that not because I want a TV series of it, but I see a way you could do like a 30-minute episode of survivors and kill each one off in an episode, and that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'll definitely see the next one in theaters just because, why not? The last one was fun.
Yeah, I agree.
Not amazing cinema, but it's entertainment. And usually when I'm watching horror, that's what I want to be, is entertained. So can't argue that.
Factual.
So what else you want to talk about here? We've been going for a little bit now.
We'll just close up with some of the stuff that I'm working on right now for the channel, which is I ordered, someone recommended, I don't know how to pronounce it, Norai the Curse, or Noroi, Noroi, it's Japanese, mockumentary horror style, analog horror movie, and then I bought that and was like, you know what, I want to get WNUF and Ghostwatch. So I picked those up. The WNUF is a Terror Vision release.
Oh, that's cool.
And they've also released it on VHS. And they've released the sequel to it, which I want to get. It's called the Out There Halloween Mega Tape. And that one is similar, but it's like people investigating aliens instead, and there's aliens in it. So that should be very fucking fascinating.
I'm on board for that kind of stuff. I think they call that found footage, but I think that's just
This is like a
it's just
subgenre of that too. Yeah.
yeah. But I've always enjoyed those. Like, the first Blair Witch was pretty cool. Like, that was a groundbreaking concept at the time. But Late Night with the Devil, I absolutely fucking loved.
Oh yeah. And these are closer to that than Blair Witch.
Yeah, and I'm interested in any of those you have to offer because those could be very fascinating to me with as much as I enjoyed Late Night with the Devil.
I don't know if you still have Shudder, but WNUF was on Shudder. That's how I watched it during Halloween, and that's the one I'd recommend first. That one's so good. The aesthetic, there's like commercials throughout it that are just they're made for the movie, but they capture it better than anything. When they finished this movie, they actually ran it through on several VHS tapes to get the aesthetic and everything.
Oh, okay. So they dubbed it to dub it to get the final look.
Yeah, it's pretty sick.
I fucking love artistic shit like that. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Get that real look. Because right now, everyone knows you can go on any app store and find about 1 million filters that'll filter your shit to look like High 8, VHS, Betamax, like, and try to get the details that each of those styles has.
Yeah. So I'm going to be doing a video kind of about that. I have a video coming up about the Rocky Horror special features, and then another video just about weird DVD special features in general. Probably going to be covering some Jurassic Park coming up. Other stuff. 28 Days Later as another movie coming out. So
yeah, I'm excited to revisit those. I want to talk about the first two before we talk about 28 Years Later.
Yeah. That's one of those out-of-print ones.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like... Did they announce a 4K of it yet?
I don't know.
But
I know
It's expensive-ish. Okay, 28 Days Later is being released in 4K Ultra HD format. Steelbook announced in 2025. Zavi. But that's funny because the film was originally shot in standard def, so it's like... You know what I mean? I have the DVD. That's what I'm happy with because that's how that movie was shot. I'm not going to upgrade. They have a Blu-ray, but
depending on the special features, I'd be interested in that.
fair.
I mean, that would be fair for me because as far as I know, that original release, because I have the DVD of that as well, doesn't have much on it.
Yeah.
28 Weeks Later. I haven't seen that one as many times as 28 Days Later, just because I had 28 Days Later, and so I used to watch that all the time because it's fascinating.
Yeah. I have that banner for 28 Weeks Later still.
Mm-hmm. Oh, nice.
Like a floor-to-ceiling vinyl banner.
That's dope. Yeah, I'm excited for all the new horror movies coming out this summer and later into the year and all the other releases, man. It seems like all the boutique physical media is getting pretty good.
Yeah, that reminds me. I saw the TV Glow. I've been trying to get, and let's see, they have a $30 Blu-ray on the A24 website. Is it in stock? Looks like it is. Sick.
So I was thrift shopping on my vacation, and I've got this The Lost Boys original motion picture soundtrack on cassette tape. This thing was $5 at the flea market or the thrift, not the thrift store, but the antique mall. So I was really happy to come up with this, find this one. I'd been looking at this online, and it's not a cheap cassette tape on the internet, especially on eBay and places. So
Yeah.
seeing that for $5 in person, I was like, hell yeah. Yeah. I don't know. We're in a good time, but an uncertain time with everything because all these fucking stupid tariffs that keep getting delayed, and some of them that have been implemented already are just jacking rates up on stuff. And I feel like for the boutique labels going through to make this stuff valuable to us, it's harder for them to price the shit at a way that's manageable for us, the consumer, right now.
100%.
We'll see. But I don't want to see anyone close or like get out of that market there, because we're in a real fascinating time. Like, I love finding vintage stuff. I still love getting the VHS, getting those things to fill in the collection there, which my VHS collection is nowhere near yours is. But the fact that we've got a lot of these old movies or movies out of print coming back to a physical media format, getting cleaned up, having some extra special features and things like that is a really awesome time for physical media.
Well, also the Terrifier releases that have been at Walmart on VHS.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're not a huge fan of those movies, it's like the fact that they're getting VHS releases in Walmart, and for a double tape for $30 for a new VHS, I get it. I will pay that for it.
Yeah. Well, you got to consider what is the cost of manufacturing those now,
right? It'd be a lot more.
Getting that shipped over here, and then buying those in quantities, and then printing the packaging, because back in VHS's heyday, everyone was printing those boxes.
Yeah.
Now you've got to find a special printer to print the boxes, or have special die cuts made, especially for a dual box cover like that. So there's a lot of things that go into that and jacking the price of those up. So I totally get why people are hesitant, but it's also limited edition. It's boutique and highly collectible. So
I think some of them are getting restocked right now too, the horror sections at Walmart, so people have been finding them again.
Oh, nice.
But I have the Terrifier 2, the Terrifier 3, and then the Rumpelstiltskin from TerraVision. It's like 3 official releases. It's one thing to get bootlegs, but
yeah, the only new VHS I've gotten was the Monster Squad one, and that was a fucking must-have on VHS for me. So getting that for $30 compared to $300 is a no-brainer.
Yeah. Did you ever watch it? Does it look good?
Oh, yeah, I watched it. Hell yeah, I did. Yep. Yeah, I watched the last VHS. I watched those Last Action Hero. I was working on my garage cleaning it up, and I've got my combo unit out there, so watched the movie out there while I was working. That's an underrated fucking movie too, man. I love that movie.
Yeah. I watched a Scary Movie on VHS the other day and recorded that, so that's coming for a review as well soon.
Good stuff. Yeah, so obviously tune in most on Mondays for our live show. we'll be doing stuff here. And then obviously Alec has tons of other great content on this channel. And then we'll still be using the Strange Glow video YouTube channel. But you know how algorithms work and shit like that. So a lot of the stuff you're going to see over there is going to be more Ghostbusters related closely there, and like props and toy collecting and stuff like that. That just isn't kind of what your channel's based on. So
Yeah.
we're going to stay over here talking movies and doing the live show here just because you've got a good platform going. You've got steady growth over here and some great things going for this channel. So this is where you'll find us for the live show.
Yeah. I did just hit 4,000 subscribers. I think right now we're at like 4,038. But tomorrow night around 9:30 p.m. I will be going live for a Q&A as well. So if you're interested, I will be here. I'll probably have to come up with some sort of other topic too in case the algorithm doesn't pick up my live. Like sometimes I'll have like 16, 20, 30 people in here and I just can't even respond to everything. And sometimes it just doesn't get pushed out enough or something. Channel's still a little young, so we'll see.
Only way to go is up, always growing. But thanks for tuning in and joining us this evening, and we'll see you back at it next week for another fun topic. I don't know what it's going to be yet, but we'll let you know in advance so you can plan accordingly.
In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and go fuck yourself.